Play is serious business. That's why we love PE. After a little review, we'll talk about lesson planning. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We got all kinds of acronyms. We have NASPE, which is the National Association for Sports and Physical Education, and they have the HELP fitness goals. H is for health, E is for everyone, L is for life, P is for it's personal. Health-related fitness, 4 components of fitness: flexibility, which is your range of motion; strength, muscular strength and endurance; aerobic capacity, cardiorespiratory function; body composition, which is height and weight. A quality program will address each of these components, and they are assessed through fitness testing, which is in California FitnessGram. Heart disease risk factors, I call these the big 6, and MVPA and proper nutrition helps you get rid of them. This is the big 6: diabetes, obesity, high cholesterol, hypertension, that's high blood pressure, smoking, sedentary lifestyle, that's inactivity, just sitting on the couch playing video games or watching TV. You need to step it up and to the healthy lifestyle. Now that you've experienced the FitnessGram, let's find out the details and the whys about FitnessGram. FitnessGram was created in 1982 by the Cooper Institute to provide an easy way for physical education teachers to report to parents on children's fitness levels. Students are assessed in these areas of health-related fitness: cardiovascular fitness, muscular strength, muscular endurance, flexibility, and body composition. Scores are evaluated against objective criterion-based standards called Healthy Fitness Zone standards that indicate the level of fitness necessary for health. This is an example of what the FitnessGram report looks like. All students should receive a printout of their results. All assessments are scored by needs improvement, high risk, needs improvement, or healthy fitness zone. There are 6 specific areas that are assessed which address the 4 fitness components. FitnessGram. The old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day, is true for fitness. Fitness is developed and maintained over time. While FitnessGram data is only sent in grades 5, 7, and 9, student data should be collected at least 3 times a year for comparison by the teacher and student. Assessment elements. Use at the beginning of the year, that's a formative assessment. Throughout the year, it's ongoing progress monitoring. And at the end of the year, there's a summative assessment of the FitnessGram project. Lesson planning and writing whole child learning objectives. We have something for you to ponder. Use the PowerPoint outline slide that you should have printed out to take notes to answer this question. Actually, you'll stop the presentation in just a few seconds, but is your pencil ready? Ready for your questions? Why do we write lesson plans? Write as many reasons as you can think of in the next 2 minutes. Stop your presentation and start going. Building a quality program. The steps to building a quality lesson plan begin with lesson objectives, the student outcomes. What do you want the student to learn? You must take into consideration the whole child in your learning objectives, and they should include the cognitively on what the student should know, psychomotor on what the student should be able to do, and the affective objectives about the student's behavior and feelings of readiness. After deciding the objectives, you need to look through the content standards that address the learning objectives. Organize the lesson and the content. Review the academic and cultural integration. This is a copy of our old lesson plan template for physical education. You'll be using this form for your physical education lesson plans. This lesson plan form has more details specifically related to physical education. After you complete this physical education lesson plan, you will need to complete the new educational studies lesson plan. You will be using the new form for all of your other classes. The new educational studies form is available in Blackboard, and you'll find it easier to build the physical education lesson plan with the old template. I have included some assistance in transitioning to the new lesson plan template coming up. This is page 1 of the new Educational Studies lesson plan template for fall of 2018. You will be using this new form in all of your other classes. The new Educational Studies form is available in Blackboard. Both forms start the same way. It will be in the Learning Objectives section where you will include your cognitive objectives, your affective objectives, and the psychomotor objectives, along with any other learning objectives that may apply. This is page 2 of the new Educational Studies lesson plan template. You will be using this new form for all of your other classes. The new Educational Studies form is available in Blackboard. If you look at the screen, I've also put in the into, through, and beyond, where it correlates with the new lesson plan template. Now, activating background knowledge is where your into will go. The instructional input is where the through on the PE template is, and the closure is beyond. So I lined them up for you, and you can switch them over that way. Components of a lesson. The into, or activating background knowledge. This is where you find relevant previous knowledge of the student to make a connection with the new material. These should be based on standards-based instruction with clear goals, objective, what the goal of the lesson is, content standards, and an anticipatory set or a hook for your lesson. Let's look at the next part, the through. Through is instructional input. Teach the new material you want the student to know, cognitively, effectively, and feel, and the psychomotor to be able to do or perform. Remember, the teaching, input, modeling, and checking for understanding, and the guided practice of the activity. Now we'll talk about the beyond or the closure. This is the independent practice or homework or the application. It's the extension of the activity. Review what was taught with a connection to be able to use the skill in the future. Writing lesson objectives. This is how you write lesson objectives in performance behavioral terms. They will direct the student to do something that is observable and measurable, not the student will learn. Lesson objectives specify who will do something. That person is the student. What will be done? The student will dribble a basketball in a figure 8 pattern. The criteria for judging the performance is the student will dribble a basketball in a figure 8 pattern twice around 4 cones without losing the ball. The qualitative criteria is without losing control of the ball, which is observable, and the quantitative criteria is twice, which is measurable. Writing objectives. Psychomotor is what students will do. Cognitive or what students will know. Affective is desired behaviors and how students will interact with others. In step 3 of week 6, there is an assignment of reviewing pre-written learning objectives for K6. More explicit directions are in week 6, step 3. Good luck. The wiki will be labeled Reviewing Learning Objectives. Lesson plan elements. You will need to collect information on lesson plan elements. You will have to define the movement form, the grade level, what California PE standards, your learning objectives, including your cognitive, psychomotor, and affective objectives. In getting ready for the presentation of the lesson, you will need to gather materials and equipment, determine how much approximate time the lesson will actually take, your activity descriptions, any modifications for diverse and disabled students, classroom organization. Are you going to have groups, teams? You're going to have them standing in a semicircle? You're going to have them standing, or you're going to have them sitting? Student assessment, what will be expected of the student, and independent practice. What type of independent practice will be assigned to the student after the lesson is done. After you have selected the learning objectives, determine what and how you will assess the objectives. Why assess, you may ask? Why you do that? To gather data to see if the students get it and they're effective at learning your teaching. Here's a little review for the assessment types. Formative assessments prior to teaching. You have input for pre-tests. You have your ongoing monitoring, checking for understanding throughout your lesson, and your summative, which is after teaching and after you've taught. You also have tests, you have quizzes, performance assessment, and authentic assessment, which could be used in an actual life situation. In planning your assessment, you may want to use rubric cards for skill assessment. You have the skill to be assessed up on the top. You have students' names to be assessed and each of the different skills to be assessed, and the rubric scale to review your assessments. You have the hashtag for correct performance, which is consistent over time. You have an X for the correct performance sometimes but not consistent, and a minus for cannot perform the skill correctly. Using assessment cards with rubrics provides a documented record of the assessment. I couldn't let you go through all that good information without having another project for you. This is your lesson concentration project, and this is going to be in a wiki group. It's going to be for K through 6, and your concentration will be one of these 5 areas: a locomotor skill, an actual non-locomotor skill, a manipulative skill, a dance, or a rainy day indoor activity. This is the important part. Look over the 5 different lesson concentrations. Pick the one that interests you the most. You have to hurry, as the size of your lesson concentration group and wiki is limited. If we have 15 students, only 3 students per group. See Blackboard for further directions. This is the only self-enroll project you will have this term. Due next week. Writing lesson objectives. Review. Lesson objectives are written in performance behavioral terms. They direct a student to do something that is observable and measurable, not the student will learn. Lesson objectives specify who will do something, the student, what will be done. Student will dribble a basketball in a figure 8 pattern. The criteria for judging performance: the student will dribble a basketball in a figure 8 pattern twice around the 4 cones without losing control of the ball. The qualitative criteria is without losing control of the ball, which is observable, and the quantitative criteria is twice, which is measurable. Writing objective activity. Remember to choose your verbs carefully. Don't use students will learn. Use PE standards to direct instruction and make the 3 objectives specific. Instead of writing, the student will move in various locomotor patterns. Be specific. The student will move in a zigzag, straight, and circular patterns by using the locomotor skills of galloping, sliding, hopping, and skipping. You cannot get too much lesson planning practice or learning objective practice. You and your fitness group will revisit your fitness station project and write lesson objectives for your fitness station project. Put them at the end of your wiki, and each person needs to write 3. One in the cognitive from standard 4, one in the psychomotor from standard 3, and the affective from standard 4. Remember to use verbs that are specific to your desired outcome and that are measurable and observable.